Penguin Random House Audio presents New Ideas from Dead Economists, the introduction to modern economic thought, completely revised and updated, 4th edition. This is the author, Todd Buchholz. Preface. Vincent van Gogh painted 28 portraits of himself in just 2 years. I have avoided such introspection, and have managed to keep both ears attached to my head. I had not read New Ideas from Dead Economists since early 1989, when I delivered a manuscript to the offices of E.P. Dutton for its hardcover debut. I suppose some authors reread their works often, reminiscing about a skillful turn of phrase or prescient thought. Rather than reread my work, I continually watched the world economy over the subsequent years to see how the book's ideas and the great economist's ideas held up. This newly revised edition benefits from a careful study of economic trends and crises, from my perch as a White House economist, Wall Street advisor, investment fund manager, and father. I was none of those when I drafted the first edition. The world has changed in staggering ways, mostly for the good. New medicines, new technologies, more jobs, less inflation, and less crime have blessed the United States. In 1989, we had no internet, no anti-baldness drugs, few automobile airbags, and no hope that the jobless rate could plunge below 5%, or that U.S. stock prices would more than triple during the 1990s and then jump by another 75% in the early 2000s, with some cliff-hanging moments along the way. The pandemic in 2020 did not bring massive bank failures and soup kitchens like the Great Depression of the 1930s did, but instead a great cessation, as people were forced to stay in their homes and away from shops and friends. In the years since the first edition, we have also witnessed a phenomenon I call the scissors economy. Technology has permitted Americans to cut out the middleman from many purchases. Who needs a stockbroker or an insurance agent when the Internet allows people to comparison shop? You can buy a sockeye salmon direct from Alaska within seconds, or an airplane ticket to Timbuktu. Consumers have more control than ever before, and can customize purchases with an ease that only a prince or a potentate could have afforded in past epochs. Even bespoke dog food can be ordered online, tailored for a hound's age, weight, fur type, and preference for poultry, bison, or vegan protein. In a tech-driven economy, consumers spend more of their income on digital products, like video games and streaming entertainment. Digital products often have zero marginal cost, meaning the seller does not pay much to make an extra copy. In past eras, vinyl records, cassette tapes, and CDs were made up of advanced plastics pressed and assembled by machines and then shipped to stores. Every time a music studio churned out another record, it spent money on raw materials, processing, and shipping. Today, when artists invite you to download a tune, your extra download costs them virtually nothing. Of course, plenty of resources may go into the initial creation of an item. I co-founded an educational software company that makes math games for children based on the Math Arrow matrix. Designing the game, writing software code, and hiring cartoonists to draw Kyle the kangaroo cost a great deal. But when a parent or child downloads the game to play, it costs the company very little. This model is vastly different from what Adam Smith, our first great economist, encountered in 1776. He observed a pin factory, not bytes zooming through a digital stream. Across the United States, old monopolistic utilities have broken down, as cable, satellites, fiber optic, and wireless technologies compete for your television, smartphone, and streaming business. Every time your eye catches the glint of a rooftop solar panel on a home, a centralized power company sheds a tear. A striking advertisement once appeared in the Washington, D.C. area, touting a new telecommunications company. Posters displayed a statue of Lenin with a rope around his neck and the headline, "No empire lasts forever, especially one that keeps you waiting 5 hours for a repairman." The scissors economy has not snipped out every middle person, of course. In a modern economy, most of us cannot avoid toiling in the middle. Very few of us spend the morning picking strawberries by hand or hammering steel on an anvil. But the scissors economy has placed a new burden on middle people. They must prove their value. Traditional retailers may lament the Amazonization of sales, but Amazon has carved itself a prosperous place directly in the middle of transactions, as have PayPal, Venmo, and others. Amazon's success comes from stunning innovations: same-day delivery, rapid refunds, easily read customer ratings, and algorithms that may display sensible recommendations. Sears, a once mighty competitor that built the world's tallest skyscraper in 1973 and was the nation's largest retailer throughout the 1980s, trumpeted the slogan, "Where America Shops." By 2018, Sears had not innovated much and found itself booted from its tall building and instead in bankruptcy court. Will Amazon hold on to its lead, or will nimbler new competitors emerge to humble it? Sweeping changes in European and Asian political economy command our attention. Europe has been stitching itself together and then breaking itself apart again. The Berlin Wall came tumbling down in 1989, freeing hundreds of millions of Eastern Europeans from Soviet drudgery and pushing them into competitive markets, where many have thrived and others have struggled. Within a few years of the Berlin Wall's crumbling, Czech and Bulgarian versions of new ideas from Dead Economists appeared as newly freed minds searched to understand a market economy. In 2000, Western European nations gave up sovereign currencies like the German Deutschmark, Italian lira, and French franc in order to embrace the euro currency. In 2020, the United Kingdom, which clung to the pound sterling, waved goodbye to the European Union, frustrated by its political and legal demands. In Asia, the Japanese economy transformed itself from a threatening giant in the late 1980s into a humble midget in the 1990s. The key Tokyo stock market, which climbed to 39,000 in 1989, collapsed and stood at just 19,000 in 2020. What happened to all those stories of superior Japanese management techniques? Meanwhile, China emerged as a powerhouse in world trade, its factories churning out more goods than any other countries. This from a nation whose GDP barely showed up on a chart in the 1970s. The Berlin Wall. As the Soviet Union and the United States waged the Cold War, each had intercontinental ballistic missiles poised and aimed at the other, ready to destroy humanity. Most geopolitical strategists believed that a standoff, that is, a stable Cold War, was a good outcome that could hopefully be extended well into the 21st century. Not even Ronald Reagan, surely the most optimistic Cold Warrior, thought the Soviet Empire would crumble as swiftly and peacefully as it did after 1989. Many of his advisers and almost all his opponents urged caution. When Reagan implored then-Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev to tear down this wall, State Department experts objected to the forceful yet fanciful dare. Why rile the Soviet bear and ask for an impossible task? It turned out that the bear was not so strong, and the task not so far-fetched. Only a few years later, East Berliners and West Berliners took picks and hammers to the wall in all-night celebrations.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?